Hi guys, this is Chris from KVM Design. Hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to show you how I start a room rendering like this one here that I did for a recent project in San Francisco. I've had a couple people ask me how I created this room, and it's actually simple. I want to show you how you can start your room under 5 minutes. So let's go. So I have a blank page here. What we want to do is create a new layer, create a rectangle. Here you go. Light gray or off-white. I mean, it really depends on your room, but I'm going to do it really simple this time. So here we go. We have a rectangle, and we want to copy and drag it to this side. Here we go. I want to give it a darker color so we can tell the difference, and then we'll go into edit, transform, and perspective. Here we go. And I want to copy and drag, and then I'm going to go into edit, transform, and flip horizontal. Here we go. So we have got the walls already. Now what I want to do is under all these layers I want to create a new layer, and we're going to do the ceiling a little bit darker. Here we go. So then I need a floor. So I've been working recently on a Photoshop kit that has 30 different files for Photoshop that you can use for your room renderings, and one of them includes all these floor resources that I've collected over the years. So I'm gonna choose a floor. I'm gonna copy it into my Photoshop file. Okay, so what I want to do is to put it in perspective. And actually, what I want to do first is to make these walls a little bit bigger. Here we go. Alright. So you could even cut a piece of this floor so that it's not so dense. Here you go. So just work it out so that the perspective looks right. And then we want to add skirting maybe. So this is another file that I've created as part of my Photoshop kit. I will let you know when it comes out. Okay, so same thing, we copy. We copy, and then we make it a little bit bigger at the end because it comes towards us, so it's gonna be a little bit wider, and then edit, transform, flip horizontal. There you go. So we've got a room. Do I have windows here? Okay, I want to add a window. So let's see this one. Okay, and then it's easy for you to just add doors, wall openings, lighting, anything that you need. As I said, in this Photoshop kit, you'll have everything that you need to start your room before you add your furniture and your lighting fixtures. I wanted to do another quick Photoshop tutorial to show you how to create shadows on your walls when you do visuals for on Photoshop for your interior design projects. So I'm going to remove this one, so I can show you how to add that to the wall. So what I want you to do is to select with the magic wand the wall, and then I want you to create a new layer, so not on the same layer, create a new layer, and then I want you to go in the dark gray, and instead of the bucket, I want you to use the gradient tool. So it's going to be this one, and this is perfect, this is what we want. Then you're going to play around, so starting from the outside of the area that's already selected, I want you to play around with adding, so I'm also pressing Shift on the Mac. On Windows I'm not too sure, but on the Mac I'm pressing on Shift so that my mouse won't move and it will stay completely straight. The more you go inside the wall, the bigger the shadow. Can you see that? So here I'm just going a little bit and it's going to stay on the edge of the wall. If you want a bigger shadow, you have to go a little bit more inside the wall, okay? So here you're not going to press Shift because the wall is not straight, and you just have to play around with, you know, see, so, okay. Okay. So you just have to play around, you know, on the angle that looks best, and then you're gonna play around with the opacity as well. So here it looks a little bit better because it's not so strong. So just play around with the type of shades and the opacity. You can then, you know, add more depending on where the light is coming from. So obviously we have the window here, so we'll have more shadow here as opposed to here, okay? Same for the ceiling. So this is the wall. You do the same for the ceiling. So let's say we select always remember to create a new layer. It's super important because if you're not happy with the shadows, then it's easy for you to delete or hide the layer and still have your paint color intact. So you're just gonna repeat the same process. Here we go. So I'm doing it quickly, then you're gonna get a hang of it and it's gonna be much easier. So remember, the more you go into the area, the wider the shadow is going to be, okay? And then you just play around with the opacity. It helps give some depth to your renders. I wanted to do another quick Photoshop video to show you how you can use some of the textures in the Photoshop kit that's in my Etsy shop. So I did another few videos on Photoshop to show you how you can do, like you can use the kit to do very cool things in Photoshop very quickly. So here I wanted to show you how you can add textures to your floor plans and your elevations. And so that they're, you know, nicer to present to your clients. So here, these ones already have a little bit of color. It was added in Vectorworks. I did those plans in Vectorworks, and I did show the clients just these plans actually with just the elements that were in wood. But I wanted to show you how you can add a few other things to make your plans a little bit more interesting for presentation. So you can really use anything, any of the textures, and I'm actually gonna rotate this one so that it's, because I'm already showing the direction of the wood planks. So I'm gonna rotate this. Here we go. And then you just basically scale it so that it works. Wow, it works pretty well with my wood planks on my plan, actually. That was totally unplanned. But so the thing that I would do if you're working in AutoCAD or Vectorworks, I would actually make sure that the furniture is not wireframe, but it's actually white. Because then when you put your floor plan, you see it doesn't, I mean, it keeps the furniture white. So then it's going to be easier for you to apply a fabric, for example, on the sofa, or just a color. I would just do colors. I try to generally use a mix of colors and textures, not too many textures, so it's not too much. But here I think, you know, color would be enough, so maybe a gray. So here, let's see, for example. So I'm going to select here the floor plan. Let me, how do I move this? Let me select the island. So another thing, if I were to resave this plan, I would save it without any of the writing on it, so that it's nicer for presentation. But I just took something that I had in my file. I didn't want to save it again. I'm super lazy. So let's say I want my island to be gray. Actually, the island, I would probably take a marble texture and then add a marble texture. But so create a new layer, and then you're just going to drop a color. And you can do the same thing over here on the sofa. Here we go. Okay, so create a new layer. Let's do a different color. I don't know. What do we want the sofa to be? Let's do this. Okay. And then what you can do, so see here, I would definitely not add any dimensions because I don't think it looks very good, but you got it. So when you save your plan, better to save it without the dimensions. You could save two different floor plans, so then you can overlap them, but make sure the furniture is kind of on a white background. It makes things easier to see, especially if you don't want to add color to everything. I don't think it's necessary, but see how adding just a flooring makes such a big difference. So then you could use, you know, shadows, or, you know, to make it a little bit better. I would actually probably, I would select that top part because it's higher, right? It's the back of the sofa, and I would make it a little bit darker. It already gives it a little bit more depth. So yeah, I could do another video to show you how to use shadows and colors to make it more realistic, I guess. So that's for another day. Then you could add some rugs here. If you have a rug that you know you're going to specify, just add the rug in the presentation, you know. This Photoshop kit is great because it has, you know, the basic textures, but then if you are specifying any, you know, any rugs or any type of material, you should add it into the plan and the elevations. So for example, here, so see how the wood is already showing, but, you know, I generally would do that in Photoshop if I decide that I want to do, you know, just that for presentation with no 3D rendering. I would probably just do the colors in Photoshop and add materials from the kit. So wall cladding, for example, tile floor. Well, it's flooring, but I feel like it's not really flooring, this one. It's more like wall. So I'll add that to the wall, for example. Here. So then you resize it so it works with your bathroom. Whichever way works best. Then what you do, change the opacity a little bit so you can see everything. You see here, so I'm gonna make it smaller here so it fits. And then you can also choose where you want to cut the tiles. Okay, I'll cut it here. Okay, And then what you're gonna do is from the floor plan layer, you're gonna pick the wand and select the white background. See how it's selecting the wall, but it's not selecting the fixtures. This is what we want. So then you're gonna go back to the tile layer. You're gonna say select inverse, and you're gonna delete. And see what happens is that it kept the texture on the wall. That's what we want, and then it removed it all around, so the fixtures don't have the background anymore. So that's what we want. And then I would definitely add some color or at least some gradient to the fixtures, so you know it looks a little bit more 3D rather than 2D. But that's how I do it. Then one more trick, what could I show you? Wall cladding. Let's do a wall cladding. What do we want? Do we want to try this one? Let's see. Well, this is the... Where would we put that? This is a totally random texture for the space. I just want to show you how to use this kit. Whether it's for, you know, like visuals, because originally, you know, I say it's to create 2D visuals, but 3D visuals, but you can use it for 2D drawings as well. And I love to do that in for my presentations. When I don't show 3Ds, I just add textures and colors to the 2D elevations and floor plan, and it makes such a difference. At least it gives, you know, your clients an idea of where the materials go and how they work together. So here you could do the same, change the opacity. Okay, let's say that we want this to be a little bit smaller. So then same, you go back to this layer, the floor plan or the elevation layer. You select here the background. Then you go back to the wall cladding, invert. Where is invert? Where is it? Select inverse, sorry. And then you delete. And when you turn it back on, ta-da! There you go. And that's how I use the kit. So the kit is in my Etsy shop. It's the most popular item in the Etsy shop because you have lots of textures. You have even like stuff for decoration. You have plants. There are literally so many things. So yeah, have a look. And if you have any questions about how, like, what you want to see, you know, do you need more help for floor plans and elevation? Do you want to see something specific? Just let me know in the comments and I'll do another quick video. I just wanted to quickly show you how to use the light effects that you'll find in my Photoshop kit on Etsy. So these effects help you quickly add lighting to your visuals without spending too much time on them. So let's say I copied this one over to this rendering. So I'm going to try to recreate this for this lighting. And I want to do it here. So I'm just going to paste it. And then you can just adjust it to match, you know, whatever height and width that you want. And what I always try to do is to change the opacity because it's obviously going to be transparent. So you want to just have enough light to show that there's lighting going on, but not too much so that, you know, it looks real. Then I put it behind the lamp. And what I want to do, because this is a glass globe, what I want to do, so this is not with the light effects, but it's a little trick that I want to show you as well. So I use this tool here because it's a round globe, a glass globe. So I'm going to do this here and then change the color so it can be either, it's not working. Why isn't it working? Okay, so you can choose either a little bit yellow or just white. Here we go. Then you're going to create a new layer and you're going to add colors. So this is now showing behind the lamp. So let's see. Now, if I put it on top, you're going to see that it's like that, right? So I want you to change the opacity a little bit, but what I want you to do is go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then just play around with this so that it looks a little bit more real. Here we go. So it's basically, it blurs. Let me put this back to normal. It just blurs the lines. So let's do it again. Blur, Gaussian blur. And you're going to see that the higher the pixels, the more it's going to disappear. Can you see it? So let's play around with this now. Let's put it back on here. You're going to see that it looks a little bit more real because now the entire glass globe is lit up. So now between this and this light effect, you have something that looks like lighting. Just play around with the opacity. Here is another one. So we can use any one that you want. Just play around with it and see what works best with the visual that you're working with. Okay, so where's the lighting? It's here, but it's at the bottom, so I need to put it back at the top. See, here we go. Then you can play a little bit around to see, you know, what you like, and always change the opacity so it looks a little bit more real. So we just want to show that there's light going on. Same here, you could create another circle so that the bulb looks like it's lit up. And here I did it as well, like I picked one light effect. So you put it here, you can increase the width. You can do it for the sconces here as well. But yeah, this is how you would use the light effect Photoshop file that's in my Photoshop kit. If you have any questions, I can do another tutorial. I hope that's clear. Bye!